Welcome back to History, Bits Facts. Today, we're diving into some of the biggest myths in history that people have believed for centuries. Get ready because some of these might surprise you. Let's bust some myths. Let's start with one of the most persistent myths. Napoleon Bonaparte was short. You may have heard of Napoleon complex. It's based on the idea that Napoleon was compensating for his height with military ambition. But the truth, Napoleon was actually around 5 feet 6 inches or 5 feet 7 inches, average height for his time. The myth likely came from a mix-up between French and British measurements. Next, let's talk about the Vikings. Pop culture loves to show Vikings in horned helmets. However, historians have found no evidence that they ever wore these during battle. The idea was actually popularized by an opera costume designer in the 19th century, so those intimidating helmets are pure myths. People say the Great Wall of China is the only man-made structure visible from space, but that's not true. Astronauts confirmed it's hard to see with the naked eye, even from low Earth orbit. Urban lights are actually more visible from space. Contrary to what we see in old maps and stories, educated people in the Middle Ages actually knew the Earth was round. Ancient Greeks like Pythagoras and Aristotle already understood this, and the knowledge was passed down. The flat Earth myth mostly came from fictional portrayals in the 19th century. When the people of France were starving, many believe Marie Antoinette heartlessly said, "Let them eat cake," but there's no evidence she actually said this. The phrase may have been used to paint her as out of touch, but historians agree it was likely made up to stir resentment. Most people have heard Christopher Columbus discovered America in 1492, but he wasn't the first. Indigenous peoples had been there for thousands of years, and Norse explorer Leif Erikson reached North America centuries earlier. Columbus's arrival did mark a major turning point, but he wasn't the first to arrive. While gladiators did engage in brutal battles, they didn't always fight to the death. Gladiators were highly trained and valuable, so deaths were not as common as movies depict. Many fights ended with one gladiator surrendering or being spared by the emperor. With the famous Rosie the Riveter symbol, people often think women only entered the workforce during World War II. But women have been working for centuries, especially in fields like textiles, farming, and domestic services. World War II just brought them into industries traditionally dominated by men.